Hi everyone, Broman Jenkins here, and I'm going to do a little bit more on U.S. politics today. I've been kind of on that kick lately, and I wanted to talk a bit about the Republican nomination for president in 2012. Uh, if you've not been paying attention to U.S. news, it's been a fairly big event because there have been so many changes in frontrunners. It's been a spectacle on a lot of levels, and I'm surprised people haven't gotten tired of it because we've been talking about it since at least 2008. In the U.S., we have what's kind of called the permanent campaign season, and that is every decision somebody makes, every speech they make, every line they say, whenever there's a recorder or a video device in the area, gets jotted down, gets brought up. There's always someone running against you, and you're always running back for office. There's never a time where you can compromise because you have to tell your constituents you had to give up, and someone's going to jump on you for being too weak, so they'll either primary you from your side, or they'll go against you on the opposite side of the aisle. So it's been like this for a long time, and in 2008, as soon as Obama won the election for president, uh, the campaign season started back up again. And it wasn't a fault of either party, it was a fault of the media, because the media always needs a story. And once Obama had been elected, and they had to start considering, well, who's going to run against him in 4 years? And the presumptive nominee at that point had been vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin. She, of course, lost running with John McCain. But it kind of echoes of Walter Mondale running after Jimmy Carter's failed reelection bid. He was the vice presidential nominee at that time, and it's just it's the way American politics works. Ed Muskie, for example, running with Eugene McCarthy back in 1968, got brought up to national prominence that way, and the same with Mondale, and it looked like Sarah Palin was going to see the same effect. Of course, you have to remember that Ed Muskie didn't win the primary in 1972, and Walter Mondale definitely lost an election. So, with this in consideration, Sarah Palin was obviously the nominee. She had the momentum on her side. She was signing book deals. She was working for Fox News, which is where a lot of the Republican candidates go to matriculate. And it just seemed like an option that was not going to go away until 2011, where she announced she wouldn't. So through this, and if you have not been paying attention to American politics, there's been a hard right swing, and right now the answer to everything is, well, do what the Tea Party wants. And so the House of Representatives, which was swept by Republicans in 2010, is kind of beholden to a Tea Party caucus, which is about 46 members or so. That kind of came in on that wave. The Senate is held by conservative Republicans who were elected in the last election and who have been there for a while, like Jim DeMint. And it's been kind of a conservative few years where not a lot's been getting passed since 2010, and the stuff that does get passed is pure necessity. But because of that hard right swing, because President Obama has lost a lot of popularity since 2008, what was once presumed to be a nominee who would be just a lamb to the slaughter is now a legitimate candidate. And the Republicans have fielded a lot of people that may or may not really work based on where the rest of the nation is. And while Tea Party Republicans are a big part of it, the moderates were a major factor in why Democrats lost in 2010, because people were upset with Obama not, delivering on every single promise he made and not fixing the economy in 2 years. And that has kind of led to this idea the Tea Party is the major factor, where it's not really. It's actually looked down upon about the same level, or worse than Occupy Wall Street is at this point. So the Republicans have fielded a number of people. Right now, the race is Mitt Romney, who's the former governor of Massachusetts, former Speaker of the House from Georgia, Newt Gingrich, current representative from Minnesota, Michelle Bachmann, John Huntsman, who's the former governor of Utah and former ambassador to China, Gary Johnson, who's the former governor of New Mexico, Ron Paul, who's a current representative from Texas, and, I was going to say Herman Cain, but it's actually Rick Perry, who's the current governor of Texas. And the people who've left out were people like Herman Cain, who's the former Godfather Pizza CEO and National Restaurant Association president, Tim Pawlenty, former governor of Minnesota, and a couple other also rans. Buddy Roemer is also running for the Republican nomination, but he's polling in like single 2.0 digits. So with this field, what's kind of happened is this year has been really tumultuous. At the start of the year, Donald Trump was actually talking about running for the Republican nomination before he dropped out to, basically get a bigger paycheck at NBC. And he was bringing in his own brand of birtherism, which is the idea that Barack Obama was not actually born in the United States, and demanding to see the birth certificate and all this stuff. And he was kind of pushing ahead, which gave the feel that the the Republican Party is being controlled by the Tea Party faction of it. But Mitt Romney has been polling pretty much steadily second place in everything and everywhere throughout this entire contest. But before the Iowa straw poll in August of this year, Michelle Bachmann was kind of a footnote. She was better known in 2008 for suggesting that the president and members of Congress had to take loyalty tests to the United States, and maybe a new era McCarthy hearings were in order to make sure people weren't socialists like Obama was. This isn't me just saying stuff, that's what she actually suggested. And she jumped into the race in the summer of 2011 and came ahead in the Iowa Ames straw poll, which is non-binding. It's an event that's held over a day, and you have to pay for each person to get in, but the delegates can vote for who they want to. And Bachmann won, and Romney didn't participate, but Herman Cain came in second. Ron Paul came in second, and Tim Pawlenty came in a distant third, which kind of killed his chances, so he dropped out of the presidential race and put his support behind Mitt Romney. Romney, at this point, was he's been the presumptive nominee for a while, but he's still polling second place to Michelle Bachmann, who has dropped precipitously in the polls in recent weeks and months because she's basically become irrelevant. Her brand of conservatism was countered by Rick Perry, the governor of Texas, who joined the race shortly after the Ames straw poll, and they share a lot of views. Michelle Bachmann, of course, hits Rick Perry on the HPV vaccine thing, but Rick Perry is massively popular and proved it by having somebody mention that he has executed more people as governor than anyone else in the history of the country, and the audience applauded wildly. So kind of Rick Perry's popular in the same kind of insane section of the country that Michelle Bachmann is. And also Rick Perry, if you're looking for something good, listen to a speech of his, and every time he finishes a sentence, just silently insert the words white power into it, and it just sounds like it's exactly what he wanted to say. So Rick Perry shot up to frontrunner pretty quickly. Mitt Romney was still in second place. Michelle Bachmann was trailing in fourth because Herman Cain had kind of surged after Iowa Ames and his 999 plan, which is 9% income tax, 9% business tax, and a 9% sales tax on everything, which most economists said would basically bankrupt poor people. So with this setup, it was due time for another debate, and Rick Perry came in and basically flubbed every line and started a precipitous drop in the polls. Herman Cain would start to rise up after this and kind of lead the pack for most of October, until a few things kind of broke out, like the fact that the National Restaurant Association had paid for a couple of settlements out of court for women who had claimed sexual harassment suits against him. And then, of course, in November, it was announced that there was a woman he had a 13-year affair with. He didn't admit to any of this, but it was what happened, probably, based on all the phone call records and everything they have. So he dropped out of the race in December, but by this time, Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, had started to move forward and had claimed frontrunner status, and he, like every other frontrunner that's happened into these debates, had a basically terrible debate because he was trying to defend himself for working as a basically lobbyist for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for a few years, and the insane trips he's taken. And of course, with social conservatives, he loses points because he's been married 3 times, and 2 of his wives were mistresses at one point or another. So he loses a lot of support because of that. But right now, Iowa's at the forefront of everyone's minds. The caucus there is in a few weeks, and it was announced today that Ron Paul has actually overtaken Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney in polls there, suggesting that he may win Iowa, which is probably Reddit's best idea ever, I guess, to them, because for some reason Ron Paul is big on the internet, despite the fact his ideas would bring you back to the 1800s. But he's expected to come in at maybe fourth place in New Hampshire after that, to Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich, and then John Huntsman, the former governor of Utah. And then Super Tuesday, it looks like Mitt Romney will probably win most contests. So right now the layout looks like Mitt Romney will win first place in most of these contests, go to the convention, and take the nomination there. So I hope everyone learned something. Have a good time. Hopefully my voice is better next time. Bye.